Roll call 219 here. And this is going to be a little bit of a hunting story that I ran into today. And I'm in my little space where I keep all my cool firearms. And if you can see behind me, I sold a locker to recoup some money that I lost this year from hunting when somebody stole all my stuff. Well, the majority of it. So I had to recoup that money some way and somehow. So I've been saving a little bit out of a check here and there because Christmas is coming, as you can see my Santa patch. So I had to, sacrifice a little bit of money that I had saved up for firearms and whatnot to go back and buy the stuff that was stolen from me. This year's hunting season for me has been a struggle. Last year was a struggle because I didn't fill any tags that year. But I did see deer. I just didn't have opportunities to harvest them. It became frustrating, but the deer were there, which is encouraging because, I always thought I would have an opportunity to hunt the farm. This year I didn't have that opportunity. And with that is really a big blow to where I go and hunt. I did pull some strings this year, and I got Cindy's mom and dad to help me out and let me hunt a little bit of their property this year. It's not a small parcel of land. It's a small parcel of land. It's not very big at all. So that kind of opened it up for me. As El Chapo's running around here. But in the end, with losing that opportunity to hunt the farm, or just for a couple of days, if that, it really hurts the chances of filling tags. A lot of guys are hunting that area right now. They've been seeing good deer. So there's great opportunity there. I just don't have the opportunity to go there this year. So that was a blow, plus the stuff being stolen, and then people just walking around back where I'm at now is very discouraging. And I don't want conflict. I kind of steer away from conflict unless it's just unavoidable, and then it's balls to the wall at that point. But yesterday was a very encouraging sign, I should say the least. Where I'm hunting, I can see where the deer are coming into the field as I'm hunting. Not so much the edge of the field, but in a ways in the woods that I'm at, and I can see now that since all the leaves are gone, that I can see the deer move from one portion of property to the other, and as they come through there, been getting a lot of good pictures. I've been posting them on Instagram, a little bit on Facebook here and there. So I've been seeing a lot of good deer coming through there. They're just not when I'm there, or it's at night. And I'll make a video on pre-rut, rut, and post-rut, and my thoughts on that a little bit later in the week. But yesterday was encouraging as I saw deer come into the field. The only problem is they have to cross a road. Which, that's not really in their favor because people always speed down that road. And I've always told people to slow down when they come around the house because these deer bed in that area. So I don't want anybody to hit these deer, and I don't want these deer to go by the wayside, because usually when you hit deer, it's very hard to harvest them. You can, but once there's damage to the meat, it's pretty much game over from there. So yesterday, as I was sitting in my tree stand, I seen a lot of deer come across the field, but then people drove by. They either stopped and looked or honked, revved their engines. And I think that kind of puts stress on the deer. When they slow down, they honk or they rev their engines. My son witnessed that one time when we were hunting, where I posted me and him in the tree stand. He got a glimpse of that when somebody drove by and just put it in neutral and revved the engine, and it scared the deer. It kind of discombobulated them for a moment, and they took off. So that's kind of what we deal with hunting where I'm hunting at now. So as I kind of seen these deer kind of get spooked from the traffic, I seen that they moved, and they moved not in my direction. They moved away from me. So I got out of my stand and I went onto the edge of the property, and I waited to see if they would come through that area. Well, I sat there for a while, and I had about 46 minutes of legal shooting light left, and they just were not coming my way. So I decided to get up and move back to my tree stand, because traffic was non-existent and there's no kind of irritant. So as I walk back through, there's a hill that would give me cover. So as I came behind that hill, and on the downslope, I kind of peeked over the ridge there, and I seen 3 of the biggest does that I've seen this year, that I've been tracking, that I've caught on trail cams, that at one point I know they had birthed fawns. So it was a good sign, and they kind of knew there was something going on. So I kind of bedded myself down and just waited for them, kept an eye on the clock. You know, I'm ethical and I'm a legal hunter, so you know, if shooting light ends, and you know, there's always tomorrow. So as I'm sitting there waiting for them, I'm calling, and you know, I can see them pop their heads up once in a while and look and come closer. And see, this is what happens to me. I get tunnel vision, and I'm focusing on these deer that are in front of me. I'm not thinking about deer that could be in back of me. Usually when I call, especially in a tree stand, I always look around before I call. That way, if something's behind me, on the side of me, I don't spook them, because they're going to know the exact direction the call's coming from if they're that close. Didn't take that advice yesterday, and as I'm calling, I hear some rustling behind me. I look back, and there's a squirrel. You know, I could see a squirrel up on this hill in the distance, so I paid no mind to it. So I continue to call. I had about 25 minutes left, and at that point, I didn't think really it was going to happen. You know, it's just been a struggle this year. Then I heard some cracks of branches and some rustling behind me. As I turned, I looked, and I saw a doe that had come behind me downwind. If you're not a hunter, just for reference, if you get into it, deer love to go downwind and then work their way up. It's just the way they are. Their nose and their ears are one of the most two keen aspects of the animal, and they use it a lot. So I've thought to myself, well, okay, I'm gonna check this one, and this is gonna be a great day. So as I reach over to grab my bow, because I had it sitting kind of propped up, because I was so focused on the deer in front of me, I didn't have it in my hands. So as I grabbed the bow, brought it up, and just kind of looked over my shoulder just to make sure where the doe was, make sure she wasn't looking at me, because I was almost basically out in the open. I had a small I guess, branch or two that were in back of me. So as I grabbed the bow, brought it up and looked, a little, I would call him a 4-point, but his body is pretty big, walked right up on me. I mean, from here to probably to the end of the bedroom. That's how close it was. At that point, I'm smoked at that point. There's nothing I can do. I'm stuck in this position. Anytime moving or anything like that, being that close, the deer's gonna know that something's wrong, the jig is up. And he looked away and looked at the doe. And I'll put some pictures up here and show you that I've been catching these two deer on my camera for quite some time. Not only that, in my yard, and in other places. So I know exactly who these two deer are, due to all the pictures I have on the trail cam. And usually, you get that feeling, especially if if you're a hunter and you know that feeling where your heart's racing and you're really into it, you're stoked. I was calm and cool and collective because I knew this wasn't going to happen. There's no way this is going to happen. And as I'm looking straight at this deer and he's looking straight at me, he keeps walking towards me. At one point, he got as close to, I would say, 12 to 13, I would say, yards, if that. I mean, he was basically almost on top of me as he kept on walking. So as I tried to at least maneuver the crossbow in front of me in case he might have beelined and came in front of me, I would have a shot. But just that bit of movement of putting the crossbow in front of me, he blew and ran to the doe. She got spooked, took off. I seen him as they came around to go into the field. He kind of stopped. He looked again. He blew, and then he took off. And then he went out in the field. And then the does and some of the deer in the field in front of me seen these two deer book it out of the woods, and they did the same thing. They booked and they bugged out. So that was a disappointing day yesterday. That's the closest I've come sitting on the ground to a deer. I don't know how close you've been, but from here to, say, you can't see it, but the bathroom there, that is awful close. Almost, I would say, too close at that point, sitting on the ground. And usually when I hunt and I'm gonna do some ground hunting, I'm gonna be in a blind, or I have it's called a turkey blind, which is just a screen that comes when you sit on the ground, comes up about 3 feet, just to give you a little bit more cover. And I didn't take it that day because I didn't think that I was going to have that close of an interaction with two deer. If I would have stayed in my tree stand and not tried to stalk the other deer that were in the field, I probably would have made a shot on those deer, because they were really coming close as they were working their way up. And when you see in the pictures I showed, you could see my stand right there because I was at work that day. But those two deer specifically have been going around in that area right next to my tree stand, not giving a hoot. They're doing their business. So, it's just one of these things that I look at and say, shoulda, coulda, woulda. And just for people that are younger hunters, it's great to be excited, but don't overextend yourself. And if you do, and you're calling and you're not in a great cover spot, always look around you. Always pay attention to what's behind you. Don't do the tunnel vision like I do. But it was disappointing, but also really cool in a fact that I got to see this deer up close. He is a 4-pointer. I would even stretch it to a 5. Looking at him, but the body on the deer was bigger than what I expected to see from the pictures that I've caught him on. And I'll throw a couple more pictures of this guy on there. So, I mean, pictures are always deceiving, and being that close to that animal, I was really impressed. Hopefully I didn't spook him out. I will say if he does come back and I do have an opportunity, I will harvest that animal at this point, being so late in the season. But if he's with that doe, I might take the doe instead and let him grow. I have been seeing some really big deer this year compared to last year and the year before, when we first started living here. At one point there was no bucks, and I'm telling you, when I'm telling you no bucks, there was one buck that came in the yard over the summertime, the first year we were here, and I never saw him again. So I don't know if somebody else got him or he just never came back, but never saw that deer again, and that was the only one we saw. What was real encouraging, the year after, catching that buck outside the window, the following year, we opened the door and there was at least 7 button bucks that were in the front yard all over the place, feeding during the summertime. So I can see that the does are reproducing some bucks. So hopefully the spikes that I've been seeing and the little I would even say like a 3-pointers, or maybe even this 4-pointer, might have been some of the deer that have been growing on this property. I've been trying to really manage this property as best as I can, with being on a leash due to me not owning it. If I own this property that I'm on now, I would pretty much make this a great haven and have a great herd of deer to come live, and have the bucks come and find the does during the rut. Unfortunately, I'm not able to produce the thoughts in my mind, because around here I've noticed a lot of change in the neighbors, the attitude, not only towards firearms itself, but hunting in general. I'm kind of surrounded by a couple of anti-everythings, so that doesn't help. And then with going around the corner, it gets pressured a lot, because a lot of those people on the other end of the neighborhood hunt, and they hunt hard. So being on this side, you can see the difference from what other people post, some of my neighbors post, that I keep an eye on to see what deers they're harvesting, so I know not to look for this deer, this doe, so on and so forth. But yesterday was really a trying time, especially with everything that's gone on this 2020 hunting season. I don't wish this kind of season on anybody, especially with having their stuff stolen, or just bad luck. I don't wish that upon anybody. With everything going on with the cocoa, it is getting a little bit harder to buy groceries at the store. It's getting harder to find canned goods at the store. It's getting harder to find just basic stuff 2 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago, that were plentiful. So hunting and gathering, like my garden this year, we harvested quite a bit off that garden, which was surprising due to some weather inconsistencies. But doing this stuff had paid off for the most part, where we didn't have to go to the store for tomatoes, for peppers, for different herbs. We didn't have to do that. I even got to pickle this year, some pickles. So, being self-sufficient and not relying on these grocery stores is a huge, huge commodity for me right now. I think that's the best thing is hunting, gathering, and growing. I think in the time that we live in now and being with it so uncertain, I think people should look at this option if you do have it. I think it's going to be beneficial to you in the long run. It takes a minute to get up and going, but in the long run, it's going to help you out. And it's going to help you out tremendously where, you don't have to put yourself at risk at getting the rigmarole or, just dealing with people in general. I'm not a people person per se. I do work in retail, but I'm working with people that kind of have the same mindset in different aspects, which is firearms. So it's not as strenuous as just selling clothes or shoes or something like that. It's something that I enjoy. So doing this, hunting, gathering, and growing, I think is beneficial. If you have the opportunity to do it. Even growing some vegetables and some other things like that is going to help you out tremendously. Not only that, freeze drying and freezing your food, or taking meat that you can get and making jerky out of it, things like that is so beneficial. It cuts down on so much of the necessities that you need from stores. I think the only things that we bought this year basically was milk and at times a little bit of lettuce, because I couldn't get my lettuce to grow. So I mean, again, there's a lot of stake at it to put together a really good atmosphere for a garden, but it is doable. So we didn't have to go to the grocery store that often. If we did, it was for those things I mentioned, or sides, noodles, whatnot. So look into that. Interesting season so far. Hasn't panned out. From losing a deer this year, to I don't know where that deer went, to having stuff stolen, and then just this kind of luck, this kind of rotten luck that I've had so far. There's been a little bit of pressure on me to make sure that as we get further into the winter months, that you look at it as, we don't have to go to the store and buy ground beef. We have ground venison, or we have chicken, or we have chicken eggs, things of that nature. It's beneficial. So that's a little story I will share with you today. I'm going to have to get up and go to work. I work nights too, which really sucks for hunting, because right now is the time to be out there in your tree stand, sitting on food sources for these deer right now, because the bucks are, I wouldn't say all the way done rutting to this point, because I think deer are still getting bred at this point, from the pictures that you've probably seen. But I mean, they're really much coming back and trying to find something to eat and replenishing what they lost over this long 3 months of the season. So that being said, I'd like to thank my old and my new subscribers, just the people that zip through. I greatly appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, share your favorite content, whatever it may be, whoever it may be, all over the interwebs. And like always, we'll catch you guys on the next one.